The war in Ukraine continues to affect all countries of the world in socio-economic, military and political ways. The aggressive policies of the Russians, which almost threatened Eastern Europe, started to spread indirectly all over the world over time. Ukraine's Western European allies, countries such as the USA, and international alliances such as NATO and the EU, have gathered under one roof against the harmful tendencies of Moscow in Ukraine. The fact that a large part of the world acts in support for this purpose was a picture that we wanted to see for a long time, especially considering the attacks carried out by Russia on the eastern fronts in Ukraine. The importance of the military aid sent to Kiev is once again proven. These days, the Russian forces' domination in Soledar in the Donetsk region and beginning to push the Bakhmut front lines brought the course of the war to a very different dimension. Ukrainian forces must be able to respond to these repressive attacks by the Russians. In addition, the expectation of the Russians on the southern front lines is considered as another dangerous situation for Kiev. In fact, Russian gains in Soledar lie behind all these attacks that Moscow has been planning lately. As Moscow began to make certain gains in Ukraine's Donetsk region, it significantly boosted morale and Russian forces began to spread their attacks across Ukraine. The offensive of the invading troops, which is currently preventing the rise of the Ukrainian forces after the new year, must be stopped when they reach a certain point. This blocking effect can only be realized through military and financial support that should be sent to the Ukrainian armed forces, as we mentioned. Because in this process, Russia has gained a great advantage in the eastern front lines of Ukraine. However, it is obvious that there are serious problems within the Russian army regarding ammunition supply. In order to continue offensive operations, Russia will need additional military ammunition. At this point, the military support of Ukraine will perhaps be one of the breaking points of the war. In this regard, Western military leaders are pressing for Chancellor Olaf Scholz to send heavy-duty Leopard 2 tanks to Ukraine, while the US administration will gather dozens of allies at Ramstein Air Base in Germany to promise Ukraine more weapons. After this move by the USA, there was a very serious situation regarding military aid to Ukraine this week. The Swedish administration, one of the supporters of Kiev, announced its huge military aid that will create an event on the world agenda. This striking news has been one of the most effective steps to be taken for Ukraine at the moment. Sweden has approved the delivery of Archer 155mm self-propelled howitzers to Ukraine. According to Foreign Minister Tobias Billström, Ukraine should acquire as many offensive weapons as possible to attack Russian troops, and Sweden should do its part. However, in line with this statement, the Swedish government did not share with the media the exact number of Archers transferred to Ukraine. According to some reports, it is estimated that 18 self-propelled artillery mounts of this type will be delivered to Ukraine in the first shipment. When used with several self-propelled gun crews, these artillery installations can offer a highly effective offensive potential of up to 12 155mm caliber shells due to their high rate of fire. The timing of the supply of these weapons to Ukraine is unknown. However, given Sweden's previous statements of intent to supply arms to Ukraine and the timing of the deliveries, the transfer of these Archers is likely to take place very soon. The Stockholm administration also announced that it will send 50 CV-90 armored vehicles and NLAW portable anti-tank missiles to the Ukrainian armed forces. Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson announced on Thursday that Sweden will send CV-90 infantry fighting vehicles, Archer artillery systems, and NLAW anti-tank missiles to Ukraine. Speaking at a press conference, the Prime Minister stated that his government has agreed on a three-part military support package for Ukraine, including the first decision to start the delivery of the Archers. Earlier, Sweden announced plans to send the indigenously developed Archer artillery system to Ukraine, but the information about the CV-90 combat vehicles came as a surprise to everyone. The CV-90 is a family of Swedish tracked combat vehicles designed by FMV, Hägglunds and Bofors in the mid-1980s. The CV-90 is a modern, adaptable and battle-proven war machine with 1,300 vehicles in 15 variants, sold to 7 countries, including 4 NATO allies. The CV-90 is currently used in Denmark, Estonia, Finland, Norway, Sweden, Switzerland and the Netherlands. Now, thanks to the Swedish government, these war wonders will be sent to the Ukrainian armed forces and will face the invading Russians. In addition, after all this, Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson announced that Sweden would join NATO's Sky Shield joint missile defense initiative. According to the Prime Minister, Sweden should contribute to NATO with new capabilities, air force and air defense. Kristersson noted that Sweden would be ready to contribute to NATO's other military force, as well as NATO air patrols in the Black Sea and Iceland. Kristersson recalled that NATO had previously strengthened the defenses of the Baltic states and Poland in 2017, as well as Slovakia, Romania, Bulgaria and Hungary, following Russia's large-scale attack on Ukraine in 2023. Kristersson explained that this commitment demonstrates the determination of the entire NATO to resist any attack, so Sweden should be a part of this determination as well. Including the military aid we have mentioned, Sweden will provide a total of $419 million of financial support to Ukraine. At the same time, according to Swedish Defense Minister Pål Jonson, the government aims to hand over all weapons and provide training for the Ukrainian army in the next few months. In addition, $419 million financial support, which Sweden has committed to send to Ukraine, is planned for the maintenance and repair of all these weapons and systems. This latest military and financial support is the 10th military aid package provided by Sweden to Ukraine. Since the beginning of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, Sweden has provided over $475 million in military aid to Ukraine. As a response to this cooperation movement by Sweden and Ukraine, Russia announced that it would make military reinforcements near Sweden and Finland. During his meeting with Vladimir Putin, the Russian defense minister announced that retaliatory measures should be taken. An atmosphere of panic began to prevail in Russia, which thought it would strengthen its military presence in the northwestern parts of the country in response to Sweden and Finland's attempts to join NATO. In line with this, Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu said that given NATO's desire to increase its military potential near the Russian borders, and at the same time expand the alliance by adding Finland and Sweden, it is most important for Moscow to take retaliatory measures and form a suitable troop group in this region. He said it would be the right move. Speaking at an online meeting between Russian President Vladimir Putin and the country's top military officials, Shoigu did not give any figures on the possible size of the grouping. At the meeting, Putin promised to achieve the goals of the Kremlin's war against Ukraine, despite a series of failures of Russian troops, which forced Moscow to withdraw troops from many parts of Ukraine. Putin also added that they will give all necessary financial support to his forces to fulfill the mission. Sweden's military aid to Ukraine is all the more important given the information that Russia's thousands of newly mobilized soldiers have had to rely on obsolete weapons in the face of Ukraine's high-tech equipment supplied by its Western allies. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky expressed his sincere gratitude for the new military package from Sweden on Twitter. "We hope that the planned military and financial support to the Ukrainian forces will arrive on time. By setting an example in this regard, Sweden revived the aid movement. Now is the turn of other world countries. Thank you for watching us."